If you woke up this morning feeling as if the world just seemed a touch brighter, as if the sunlight was 20% warmer, then that has nothing to do with the fact that we just entered the month of May and everything to do with a great big pile of games journalists frying on the pyre. As Polygon was sold by Vox Media to Valnet, who then immediately gutted the whole thing. And I do mean the whole thing. As Blue Sky, it has been busy today. It has been busy today indeed. As a whole heaping heck of a lot of games journalists, all of whom are working in cultural commentary fields, shall we say, have been let go from the failing mainstream games media website. And, I do enjoy the smell of burning games journalists in the morning, a scent that we have all rather gratefully grown accustomed to these days, as this just simply joins the last in a long line of mainstream gaming news media outlets that have been sold, restructures, or have seen simply massive firings going on over the course of the last year or so. We have talked about this previously, but it is obviously because they are simply not worth it anymore. The only thing of value at Polygon anymore is the name. Because at least the brand possesses some brand recognition. Nobody's really going there for articles anymore, but at least it has a certain investment weight. It could potentially be reworked or reformed to something else with a recognizable logo, even if none of the people who built it will still be there, even if none of the people who wrote articles for it will still be there, and that incidentally is obviously for the better. Nicole Carpenter here, for example. I'll say more later, but I no longer have a job. I'm looking for work, and as are so many of my amazing colleagues, I have lots of ideas and things I'd like to write. I'm really in shock. Nicole Carpenter is an excellent example of the go-getter award-winning journalist at Polygon, writing such stunning and brave articles as The Untold History of Barbie Fashion Designer. Good. Fantastic. The first mass-marketed game for girls. Wonderful. I don't see how, with just culturally relevant commentary like this, Polygon wasn't just heaping in the views. And I want to point out too, this was posted July 3rd, 2023. 15 comments. 15 comments. This shit ain't merely irrelevant. It is a speck on the boot of irrelevancy. It is genuinely remarkable that something like this managed to stay alive for as long as it did, and largely it was because of investment money seeing Polygon, the logo, and being wooed by the owners and the investors, now the people going, this is a culturally relevant brand, gaming and all of that. Gaming, it's big stuff. Look at all of these metrics we have of how popular gaming is. There's this huge and untapped market that you're not tapping into. And they're right. The only problem is that Polygon wasn't tapping into that market either. In fact, Polygon was establishing itself as an active opponent to that market since its very inception, as this of course was always intended to be a cultural video gaming critique website, and well, the behavior of its new owners demonstrates exactly what they think of it. As Valnet, the new guys, well, first and foremost, they wiped practically everybody who worked at Polygon, wanting in essence only the logo and maybe whatever places they owned or the hardware. This is a content farm. This will become more and more common here in the West, as it already is in China, where you basically have influencers who are hired to be nothing more than pretty-looking faces, in essence, to stand on camera and hawk some products. Best case scenario. Alternatively, you will be hired as a writer. And when we say writer in this context, we mean you are going to go to Grok or ChatGPT or whatever else and say, give me 24 trending topics today. And then you will be expected to write an article on each and every single one of them. No matter how irrelevant, no matter how tiny, no matter how pointless they may be, your only job is to hammer Google so effing full of irrelevant garbage in the hope that somewhere out there, someone will be interested in this particular piece of irrelevancy. This is the only way how they can make articles like this function. Because something that gets 15 comments, the views on this entire thing is probably in the hundreds, maybe in the thousands over the course of years. The only way this is even remotely profitable or capable of self-sustaining itself is if you put out dozens of these every single day. And the thing is, I don't doubt it when Nicole says that she actually had an interest in writing this article, because it is a long article. There's a lot of research going into this. This was clearly like a piece of trivia, a little thing from her childhood, perhaps, that she was genuinely interested in telling people about. Like, lots of research went into it, like there's images, there's a whole heaping heck of a lot of writing. But the problem is, nobody else is interested in this. Simple as. I mean, if you were writing this for a particular niche YouTube channel, for example, who focuses in exclusively on really old video games for girls, maybe you'd find someone. But on Polygon, a gaming news website that is supposed to be providing, gaming news, rather than a game that appears to have been released on a floppy disk or something, it's not gonna work. And this person is, of course, collecting a salary whilst they are doing this. And you can see this throughout all of the various Blue Sky posts as well. It comes across as, you should hire these people, hire us, we're so good at what we do. Well, you're self-evidently not very good at what you do. We've talked about this before as well, but employment have become something that far too many people view in essence as a right rather than a privilege. That you have a right to be employed as a games journalist, writing whatever the hell you want to write about, no matter how minuscule the demographic for that thing is, and you don't have that right. Now, if you want to make this content, of course, more power to you. You've got YouTube, you've got Rumble, you've got everything. You can upload these whatever the hell you want, and if you manage to attract an audience by doing so, fantastic. That is the free market, and ideally speaking, we will eventually end up in an area of time where we are done with large conglomerates like this, and instead everybody makes their preferred niche form of media for their preferred niche audience, so that everybody can have something specifically tailor-made to them, but we're not quite there just yet. And these media organizations, of course, were viewed as, in essence, a shortcut to that form of relevance. Okay, you don't want to spend a decade building up a following that are interested in your things? Well, pop on to Polygon and then start simply writing about whatever the hell you desire on Polygon's dime instead, as you can collect a paycheck, and then one day, as everything you have done have benefited the platform not at all, you're sitting there going, oh my God, my workplace is over. Everyone's getting fired, as they were bought out by some monster company that is going to turn the 5 remaining employees into professional flesh bot AIs, pumping out inane, worthless articles in the thousands, making the 75th lock-picking tutorial for Oblivion, or the 242nd video on how to find the doodad in whatever game is currently popular. You become nothing more than a flesh puppet attempting to feel out the Google algorithm to squeeze out 30 comments instead of 15, 100 clicks instead of 10, and so on. Which, by the gods, that has got to be one of the most soul-crushing existences imaginable. I think I would rather work a factory line at that point. At least then you can just go home from your mind-numbing labor and not think about it ever again. Whereas if you're engaged with some form of mass-produced, factory-built creativity, at least you gotta think about it. You've gotta put a touch of flair into it. You've gotta attempt to make it different enough for the algorithm to not simply mistake you for the 600 other tutorials covering the exact same thing. And that, by the way, that is what gets the clicks. We talked about this during the layoffs at Kotaku, where a lot of people quit simply because they didn't want to create all of those tutorial articles, because those were the only things bringing traffic to their god-blighted website. The worst part is, as we always say whenever this topic comes up, is that this didn't need to happen. We used to love gaming publications, gaming magazines. They used to be the best and only way to gain access to relevant information about games, developer interviews, and so on. And to an extent, they still in many ways are, as even the gaming companies continue to view publications like Polygon as somehow more authentic and authoritative, as somehow more established than the YouTubers they often treat with a degree of scorn. I mean, that, in essence, is the only reason why you'd want to buy Polygon, to be able to press it on an ID badge and go to a con going, hey, I'm from a publication. Though, even those days are waning, as all of that exclusive access, all of those developer favors, all of that establishment clout, it didn't save Polygon, it didn't save Kotaku, it's not going to save any of them. And I, for one, couldn't be happier. Until next time, I'll see you all again soon. I have been Arch, and thank you all very much for watching, and ding dong, the witch is dead. Have a good day.